So I've recently been working on how we can make coral more resilient to climate change related stressors, and one way we can do this is basically delivering them medicine in the form of BMCs, which stands for beneficial microorganisms for coral. The only issue with this is that it's a bit difficult and also costly to deliver the BMCs manually, so my projects have been focusing on automating this process. And so in my last video I created a Python program for kind of the software side of it, and in this video I'm going to be focusing on the hardware side. So I found a tutorial on ScienceBudies to build an ROV at home. ROV stands for remotely operated vehicle, and I'm just going to be bringing you along with me on the journey to build this, and we'll see what happens. So I hope you enjoyed this video. The first thing I did was collecting all the materials and ordering things that I didn't have, and then I made the circuit by just wiring everything together. And then I connected the Arduino to my computer, and it was apparently working because there was still some code on it from the last time I used it. And then to make sure I figured out how everything worked, I just uploaded an example code which made one of the lights blinked. And so once I got that working, I downloaded the code off the tutorial and uploaded that. I tried moving on the joysticks. Unfortunately, I didn't record this, but the H-bridge, which is a key piece to control the motor, started smoking and it made a weird noise, and then it didn't work anymore after that. So I thought it was maybe because I was overloading it. So I tried adding a resistor, but that didn't work, and I broke another one. So I rewired the whole thing, thinking maybe I had made a mistake and there was a short somewhere in the circuit. This also didn't work. I blew up one more before I figured out what the issue was. So I figured it out by using a voltmeter, and it showed -8 when it's supposed to be +8, and this is because the polarity of the circuit was reversed, because I had bought a connector wire for the battery, and the red wire went into the black wire, the black wire went into the red wire, so I had been plugging them into the reverse positions. So I just switched that around, and the H-bridge didn't blow up, but unfortunately I broke one more because the wires were kind of flimsy and it was hard for me to stick it into the breadboard. But finally I figured that out, and it was working, except one of the thrusters still wasn't spinning. But luckily this was an easy fix, because it was just that the connection to the breadboard was weak, so I just soldered the wires onto another wire and then plugged those in, and it was all working. I then leak tested my Tupperware and realized that it unfortunately wasn't waterproof, even though it had been advertised as airtight. But I figured it was okay. The video that you're seeing right now is when it was at its worst, and usually it only let in like a tiny droplet of water. So I figured it would be okay, and I just added some elastics to make sure it was shut as tightly as possible. I then drilled holes into the container where I would attach the thrusters and thread wires through it that would be connected to the controller. I then sealed everything in with silicone and let that dry overnight, and then I leak tested again, and this time no water was let in, so it was actually really good. And the last thing I did before I could put everything together was just to cut out a piece of foam, which I attached everything onto with the Arduino and the breadboard, and a battery to power the thrusters as well as a battery to power the Arduino. And I just attached those with tape onto the foam to make sure everything stayed in place, and also to make them a bit elevated above the bottom of the Tupperware, just in case any water got in, it would not be touching the electronics. So I put everything together and I tried it, and the thrusters were spinning, so I put it into a bucket of water. Somehow all went well first try. Oh my god. So I filled up the bathtub and drove it around. So that basically sums up the whole process of creating my robot called Hubert, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you want more detail on how it actually works, I suggest checking out the article which I published on Medium about this. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video.